Go on. Plato's Cave.
Wow. Thanks for indulging.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I mean, it's all already written. So the fact that I'm sharing with you. So then they get through the silver, and the silver guy's like, hey, what's going on? And she's like checking up the archives too. So not only is she talking to her family, but she's like looking in the archives, and she's like, no, the siren hasn't sounded since the king left. Like, I don't know what the deal is either. Let me ask the family. And so Plato's walking by with Ash with his burn cloak, and he's like, hey, what's the deal? And Plato's like, whoop. And it's funny because I have it timed out to where like they have to talk in between the sirens. So it's like always interrupting them too, which has a funny natural element to the dynamic of the story. So he's like waits till the siren stops before he responds. And he's like, oh yeah, we're about to go to council to figure that out right now. I'm going to go talk to my mom. So he's obviously like, we've already designated in terms of the audience, we've already designated a status. He's climbing through this stat. Obviously he and Ash are allowed to go into the gold section. So now they approach the gold scanner, and the gold scanner is protected by the light sentry. So he's this guy who's wearing like all white armor, and it's all fucked up because he's been in battle or whatever. And he's like playing with his, what is his main characteristic? He's defending the gold gate. So he's just standing guard from the gold gate. So as they approach, and so I created a couple motifs throughout the thing from the beginning, which is there's going to be these 4 books because there's 4 movies to this 4-part series, right? And it's in Plato's Cave. He's the librarian, which is like who I believe it's Lao Tzu was, which is the guy that wrote the I Ching. So it's like this character who had learned everything that the society was able to teach him, and then was like, oh, okay, so I guess I'm going to go into the woods and like figure out what nature has to teach me. And the culture says that this is the Chinese culture says that this is the natural progression of the human being, which is to move from being the scholar to like the person who actually is totally in the experiential nature. And the point is, and this is also sort of the holy path in terms of the Buddha. It's like, then once you reach enlightenment, to come back down and share your truth with the people. So as Lao Tzu is leaving, the watchman is the guard at the gate is like, no, you have to write all the things you've learned. And that's when he wrote the I Ching. Like, you can't just leave us after learning everything we have to know. It's like the people need your guidance. The watchman or the guard or whoever at the gate told them. So then Lao Tzu wrote the I Ching, whatever. So Plato is a librarian, so his main job is to manage the archives. So he's running up, and so basically there's these 4 books that go missing. And when he reaches the Golden Gate, the light sentry's guarding it, and him and Ash run up, and Ash like falls into the dirt, which is something like because he's running too fast, and the light sentry pulls out like the Zippo, and he's like, hey, look what I got. And like we introduced the idea of relics because this is a post-apocalyptic story. So like he's got this Zippo lighter that like nobody has anymore. So we dive into that a little bit. And at the same time, Plato gives this guy, the light sentry, this Mickey Mantle rookie baseball card. So he's like, okay, they like kind of exchange. So there's this cute interaction where you meet Ash, the kid, and sort of like this guy. Later we find out that this is like actually his father. So that's one of the secrets of his character. And so they go through the Golden Gate, and they all scan, and they go into the royal chambers, and there's a whole bunch of dynamic, like they get that green. He uses this green pistol in that place to shrink wrap that Mickey Mantle baseball card. And it's like this futuristic sort of where you just kind of touch it to it, and it like completely seals it off. Kind of like a shrink wrap, but with some sort of diamondium, sort of like how Futurama did. It's like, this is now completely protected.
Right.
It's like completely protected, whatever you touch with it. So he uses that, and he puts the baseball card in his pocket. So we do the classic callback later in movie making, which is, he gets shot basically at the end, and he's got this diamondium baseball card covering his heart, so he's fine. But later, when they're escaping the cave, Grace, Plato's mother, takes that gun and shrink wraps herself right as the gate is closing on them. So when they do their whole hero's journey thing and come back, he's sitting there having the dark night of the soul, and he's trying to figure out, how do I get into Plato's cave? Or I'm sorry, how do I get back into Maya, where the city Maya, And he's like, so he does these mushrooms because he, like, Ash finds mushrooms. It's just like, it's so interwoven. It's like, how do I explain it? I don't know.
What are the main locations that you use?
The cave, the dark forest. So they go a little bit further. That's a good question. They go from the cave to the dark forest to the desert to the Badlands. So it's very like Zelda in that sense. Like obviously that was a big influence for me. And then it comes all the way back. So
It's all on one planet?
and the Dark Century follows him all the way out. Yeah, it's all Earth.
Okay.
And it's post-apocalyptic, you know.
Earth.
Yeah.
What
ancients.
year? Oh, so post-apocalyptic.
It's like-
so futuristic.
It's somewhat
Post-apocalyptic.
based
What year?
on science. So it's like when the Earth actually, I think it's 10 to the 7 billion. It's like when Earth is actually going to be completely consumed by the sun because the sun goes red dwarf or whatever.
As it starts to increase. in
Where-
size.
But wouldn't we all die by then?
Well, that's the thing. In Ancients, the Ancients movie is
They're underground.
they are leaving. So the Manumines are the ones that are keeping human beings on Earth. The Manumines are the AI computer robots that Mercury makes, who's the character that's on this transport ship going to Sirius B, which is this other planet that's way like the next solar system, according to what we understand through science now. The next solar system with a planet that could sustain life is Sirius B, according to aliens or whatever I watched this shit on when I first made up this idea. And it's like, you know, this planet was like, oh, that could be like Earth, but it's like way the fuck far away. So Ancients, the main trilogy of Ancients is the first movie, they get off Earth. The second movie, they leave from Mars to Sirius B. The third movie is Plato's Cave, which explains what they are as Manumines stuck back on Earth. And the fourth movie is when they land on Sirius B, and the Ancients, which are the pharaohs that were injected with basically the serum, that regen serum that can bring them back to life, because the mummies mummified themselves on Earth so they could be brought back to life on the spacecraft, taken to the next life or planet, you know? So they basically land on Sirius B and they're slaves of the pharaohs again. Human beings are.
Okay.
And so that's the sort of, and at the same time, Plato's making his journey in. So it's very Futurama, but it's like Plato's making his journey into the center of the universe, and then Mercury leaves.